Good afternoon and welcome to BBC News Facebook Live, broadcasting on the BBC News Facebook page as well as BBC London News and BBC Radio London. We're broadcasting for the next quarter of an hour or so, taking your questions. So please do put those questions into the Facebook comment box and I'll try and get through as many of those questions as I can. I've got a variety of guests with me as well, so we can put some of those questions to them. But let me just show you the scene here. You might be able to make out just behind me, you can see the police cordon. That police cordon has been in place since about 12:30 or so this morning. I arrived on the scene just after 4 o'clock and the police cordon is there. You can see plenty of media here, but also the local community here in Finsbury Park and in the general Seven Sisters area who've been coming down to see what's going on, to pay their respects to the man who lost his life this morning and the other 8 people who are in hospital following this terrorist incident. Let me just swing around. You can see just over there is the main Finsbury Park tube station, an interchange which many people in London will know of. And as you come around here, you can see the Arsenal shop is very, very well known in this part of North London. And there we have it. There is the police cordon. And just beyond that cordon, on the right-hand side, you might be able to make out a little underground sign. And it's just past that underground sign, which is the Muslim Welfare House, and that is where the incident happened in the early hours of this morning, where this van drove into a group of pedestrians. So as I say, I'm joined by a variety of guests. One of those guests who's coming now is Valerie Bossman. Valerie Bossman is from Stand Up to Racism Islington. Valerie, thanks very much for your time this afternoon. As I say, we're going to take some questions on the Facebook page, but first of all, just explain where you were this morning and when you first found out about this terrorist incident.
Yeah, I was at home and I could hear the helicopters locally because I'm in the area and just couldn't sleep. So I was, just reading, and then I just, I told my partner, I can hear helicopters, and he says, well, do you know what, it's the time that we live in at the moment, so it's just a normal thing to hear helicopters, sirens, etc. I said, no, but something's not right. So anyway, eventually I went to sleep. And then my eldest was waking up to go to school, and then the helicopter was still there, and I was like, something's not right. And it's like something you feel, and you put the telly on straight away, and then you turn on to the news, which you do on a daily basis nowadays, and when you find out Finsbury Park, and you're like, wait a minute, that's down the road. And then you just jump up, and then you're like, well, the kids are okay, we're indoors obviously, but then you think about your friends and your family, local people that are around. What could they be doing? Are they in the vicinity? Are they safe? And being a part of the Stand Up to Racism in Islington, we meet quite often and we have like a forum, and we say no to anti-Semitism, no to Islamophobia, no to homosexual, just no to anyone that's anti-anything, and no to racism. And it's just so sad that they've attacked this community again. And just to say this, and I don't want it to be cliche, but the cuts is a massive issue. On a regular, you'd have obviously it's time like Eid, etc., Ramadan, you have police presence. And obviously with the cuts, you don't have anyone, no bobbies on the beat.
Would you like to see more police on the streets?
I think it's important. I think we need to. I think the community needs it. I mean, it's really important to feel safe.
Valerie, I've been here since 4 o'clock this morning, and I can tell you, so many of the community from all different faiths, from different backgrounds and religions, they do seem to be coming together, lots of them coming out in the morning, in solidarity, sticking together. What do you think that says about this part of North London? Because it really is a very multicultural area, isn't it?
It really is, and I'm actually really proud because years ago I've lived all over London, and coming back home, which is Islington, I say I'm an Islingtonian, and we're just a massive community, Muslims, Christians, black, white, Asian, whatever, it's like it's like a hybrid of people in a beautiful, community. And even though things change around, you can put a Costa across the road, you can put a KFC, it's just the community is always, the people, and that's what we represent. So it's nice to actually be here, but then at the same time, in solidarity, it's sad. because of what's happened. You know, it is a tragedy. So.
Stay there for just 1 second, Valerie. I'd just like to read out some of the comments which you have been placing on our BBC News Facebook page. Kyra says, sending healing wishes. We've got Linda who says, so sad for those involved. Jasmine and Shaheen both saying so sad. Do please comment in the box below. We are live this afternoon on the BBC News Facebook page and the BBC London News and BBC Radio London's Facebook page, also here in Finsbury Park. And I am with Valerie Bosman, who is from Stand Up to Racism in Islington. And I know, Valerie, you were on the phone just prior to coming to join me because you knew of someone who got injured. Is that right?
Yeah, so one of my friends who's he's very dear to me. During the election, I didn't see much of him because obviously Ramadan, and you know, you've got to be with family and, you know, do your prayer worship, everything like that. And the first thing I thought of is, apart from friends and family and, you know, peers, work colleagues, whatever have you, I thought there's a WhatsApp group, and I thought, you know what, let me just find out if he's okay, because he's been quite quiet. But it's that time where they're quite quiet and they're prayerful, reflecting, and
because they're fasting as well.
And they've got to keep focused. And I'm just so happy he sent me a message saying that he's okay, he's safe. But unfortunately, obviously, his brother, you know, he's just been discharged from hospital and he's on crutches, you know. And again, just it's so nice to be in a country where we have the A&E, we have the police service, we have the fire brigade. You know, just even obviously not a week or so ago, we've got the flats. You know, that we're still trying to get over that, and then now this has happened. It's like one thing after another, and
the Grenfell Tower in North Kensington.
It's surreal. Like it's like the end of days, but literally just end of days going really slowly by. And you know, just this weekend marks Joe Cox's death. More in common. You know, people getting together, having picnics, families getting together, you know, communities, whether you're Kurdish, you're Turkish, you're African, you're British, you know, the British values. And now this has happened again. And like you, going back to your question about the community getting together, it's amazing to see. And, you know, the community, especially the mosques, you know, the head there, they've been really good. They're very supportive. And Islington Community, Islington Council as well, our head councillor, Richard Watts, he's amazing as well, and all his team, and our local councillors as well. They do an amazing job keeping us, you know, safe and within the community. Valerie,
if I can, we're just getting some more of your questions and comments in on this BBC News Facebook Live. Trina says, Valerie's comments are soothing at this time. Yasmin, so sad. But a question from Margaret, and if I can ask you this question. Margaret says, what is the world coming to?
The world is just, you know, it's always been this way, I feel, and I'm not trying to, again, be cliche, but I think, you know, day in, day out, I think I blame, like, media. I mean, not you guys, of course, because you're here on the ground, you see what's going on, you're talking to local residents. It's not staged in any way, it's not edited, but I think it's media, it's just, you know, things being exacerbated, and they have to be, you know, blaming refugees and, you know, foreigners, it's their fault, this and that, but it's not about that, you know. We're meant to be a community, it doesn't matter where you're from, you know, we're meant to stay together and just, you know, just love each other. And I think Christians, Muslims, Jewish people, it's important that we just stay together, you know. It's important, especially in this time. I mean, the world is still the same. It's just that you have one or two individuals that go in their own thing and just being rampant and just very savagery, to be honest. There's no words that can, I don't know what to say. I'm lost for words.
And Valerie, earlier we heard the Prime Minister Theresa May say that London is one of the greatest cities on earth. She said that in the past 20 minutes in her speech at number 10 Downing Street. What would your message be to Londoners following what happened here, you know, just down the road there outside the mosque here in Finsbury Park, but also following on from the London terrorist attacks at Borough Market and London Bridge? What would your message be to Londoners today?
I think, being a Londoner myself, born and bred here, especially in Islington, I think my message is really simple. It's just to just stay together as a community. Don't let nothing divide you. You know, we're all different in our own ways. As an early years practitioner, I've worked with many children from different ethnic backgrounds, and the song that always resonates with me is the Bar Bar Black Sheep, but we changed it to Bar Bar Rainbow Sheep. And it's about teaching children that, you know, we're all sheep, we're all flock, and different, you know, colours and cultures, whatever diversity, and just got to stay together. And I think one thing that resonates for me, especially being from Islington, is something that Jeremy Corbyn always says. And it's just about community spirit. And if you don't have a community, you don't have anything. And just don't give in to all this nonsense. It's nonsense. And just stay as a community, stay as one. It's important. Solidarity.
Valerie, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really do appreciate it. That was Valerie Bosman from Stand Up to Racism in Islington. She mentioned Jeremy Corbyn, of course, the leader of the Labour Party and the MP for Islington. Jeremy Corbyn has been down here within the past hour or so. He's been visiting the site where this happened. As I say, if you're just joining me here on BBC News Facebook Live, we are taking your comments and we'd appreciate your questions. I've got a variety of guests to speak to over the next quarter of an hour or so, but let me just show you, just over my shoulder, behind the police cordon, behind those police vans on the right hand side, you might be able to just make out a London Underground sign, and that is where the Muslim Welfare House is, and that is where this van drove into a group of pedestrians. In the early hours of this morning, police and the ambulance service were called just after midnight, and everyone has been on the scene. Now, joining me here now for some more comment, and if you have any questions, please do put them into the Facebook page comments box. We've got Anas Al-Takriti, and Anas, I know you're the CEO of the Cordoba Foundation, which I believe promotes peace. First of all, can I just ask you your reaction to this incident here in Finsbury Park?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think that we've run out of words. Tragic. It's incredibly frustrating that, unfortunately, since the Manchester attacks, before that, the Westminster Bridge attack, I mean, these attacks keep happening. And it seems now that extremists on all sides of the fence have found a tool that is, in a sense, very primitive, but yet extremely effective and deadly, as we've seen now on several occasions. If anything, this goes to show that violence, extremism, terrorism has no faith and has no creed, it has no ethnicity or race. The perpetrators could be anyone, and the victims, as proven tonight, could be anyone. My heart goes out to the victims, people who had just emerged from their prayers and hoping to return home in order to have their last meal before they observe the fasting of the day. And this has to happen. It's a tragedy, and it's happened in one of the most colourful, diverse, vibrant, multicultural parts of London. You look around, even those who have turned up to show their support and solidarity. I mean, from faith leaders, from the churches, from the synagogues, from the temples, from the mosques, as well as people who belong to campaigns to fight racism and fascism and all sorts of discrimination. It's a fantastic area of London, and it's tragic that this should happen here, but it's a tragedy which I think that everyone across the country will feel.
And as I've been here since just after 4 o'clock this morning, speaking to those community leaders, but speaking to the ordinary people that live in these flats above these shops, who have come down, and they've really said that there is such a community spirit in this part of North London. Do you worry, or do you feel that following this terrorist incident, that community spirit could be in a way broken or changed at all?
I'm hoping not. I think that the resolve is extremely strong. But make no mistake, I mean, everyone, after the flurry of attacks, as well as we're still reeling from the Grenfell Towers tragedy, I mean, this is an attack on that kind of community spirit. This is an attack on the diversity that this part of London, as well as the country as a whole, shows and exhibits so proudly. Only a few days ago at the neighbouring mosque in Finsbury Park Mosque, community leaders, faith leaders from all faiths, from all aspects of life, from North London, came together to break fast with the Muslims. Jeremy Corbyn was there, the leader of the London Mets in this part of London was there, the leader of the local council, local MPs from around this district came around, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic. So I'm hoping that spirit, it sees this through, as it has seen in various other parts of London. But make no mistake, these attacks target that. It's not about faith, it's not about terrorism. And in the same way that we have always, in the light of previous terrorist attacks, we say the same. This criminal is the one who is responsible for this attack. No other community, no other section of society. No one needs to apologise, no one needs to condemn. This is the act of the culprit alone.
Anas, great to have you with me. Please stay there because I've got a couple of questions which you have been bringing in on our BBC News Facebook Live. If you do have any comments or any further questions, please do put them into the comments below. We're going to try and get through as many of them as we can. But let me just read some of the comments and questions out to you. Ines, I'm joined by Ines Al-Takriti, who's the CEO of the Cordoba Foundation, who promote peace. Pilly says, well done to the community for catching him. Alison, no matter what religion, we all need to come together. Sutton says, the government do more. And we've got a question from Sirgba, and he says, what is the advice about anarchy rising?
Well, first of all, I think that, from what we've been hearing, and we need to wait for confirmation, but what we've been hearing, that the assailant was surrounded by those who were emerging from the mosque, and it was the imam of the mosque who actually protected the assailant from being mobbed, because you can imagine, people were afraid, people were scared, and people were quite angry, especially that they saw blood around them. But it was the imam of the mosque who came and protected the assailant, kept him safe until the police came and took him into custody. So first of all, I think that there is a sense of responsibility on part of the community, that this is something that belongs to no one. This is an anomaly of London. This is an anomaly of our community and our society. It's very, very important that we build on this. It's also very, very important that now whoever's dealing with a strategy to counter terrorism or counter extremism pays attention to the fact that it's not, extremism and terrorism is not a monopoly of Islam or Muslims. It's something which runs deep in many corners of our societies, which we need to identify and work together in order to eradicate.
And how can it be eradicated? Because, you speak about identifying it, and that's probably one point, but how can we possibly eradicate this?
Well, as long as it remains very, very marginal, very, very minute. The numbers of those who subscribe to such skewed, perverted ideologies remain, being counted on the fingers of two hands. It's fine, because every single community and every single society has its idiots, has its criminals, has its perverts and the such. But the problem is, if we don't pay attention to the real problem, if we don't address the causes, whether it be in education, whether it be in social welfare, whether it be in how societies run, whether it be in terms of government policies, if we don't, then unfortunately that minute minority might grow to become a significant minority.
I've got another question for you, Anas. I'm with Anas Al-Takriti, who's the CEO of the Cordoba Foundation. They are a think tank that promotes peace. We're here on the BBC News Live Facebook page and BBC London News Live Facebook page too. Another question has just come in, and it's from a man called Eric. And Eric says, what can you do to put crash barriers everywhere?
Well, it's sad. It's sad. I was asked a question just by someone earlier before about the presence of police, the increased presence of police. I wish it didn't have to happen. I wish we had more access rather than less by barriers. I remember the days when we used to walk up to the Houses of Parliament and stroll in, have a tea and then walk out. I recognise the fact that we live in a totally different world than a few years back. And we have to recognise that now mosques, Islamic centres, places where people congregate to pray, to break bread together and the such, they need to be protected more, unfortunately, because I'd rather that the resources of the police go elsewhere. But that is the state of where we are today, and in a sense, it's sort of a condemnation of affairs, but I think that the community and the society will see this through.
And it's really great to meet you and to talk to you this afternoon. Thank you very much indeed for your time. That was Anas Al-Takriti, who's the CEO of the Cordoba Foundation. That's a foundation, a think tank that promotes peace. You're watching BBC News Facebook Live with me, Barry Caffrey. Please do put your comments and your questions in just below in the box. Let me just show you the scene behind me. We are just outside Finsbury Park tube station, just over there to the right-hand side. And you can see the cordon probably you can make out just behind me. You can see all of the media, all of the international television and radio journalists there. And just behind there you can probably make out a police van. To the back of that police van on the right hand side is a London Underground sign, and that is where the Muslim Welfare House is. And this Muslim Welfare House is where this van drove into a group of pedestrians in the early hours of this morning. London Ambulance Service and the Metropolitan Police were called, and on scene around about 20 past 12. We now know that one man has died, 8 others are in hospital, and we also know that this is being treated as a terrorist incident by Theresa May. She said that in the past half an hour. I'm joined now by one of the local vicars, who is Sam Haig. And Sam, you are from the local Church of England, Emmanuel Holloway. Thank you very much for your time. Can I ask you first of all just to give me your reaction, please, to what's happened here today?
Yeah, sure. Really just wanted to come down this morning and express solidarity and just be alongside the community at this time. I think for all of us who live in what is a very kind of multicultural, diverse area, and we do get on well. There's a great sense of community spirit in the area, and also great connections with the different faith groups in the area. For all of us, I think waking up to this news today, it was incredibly shocking and quite disturbing to think that something like this could happen on our doorstep, on what is really a incredibly diverse and peaceful area.
It is a very, very diverse area. If I can just move you around this way so we can see the cordon in the background. But it's a very, very diverse area, but also the community do seem to be working together. Can you just give us a little sense of what the community is like here, and also a little bit of your reaction to how they reacted to this, terrible incident?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of how people have reacted in the first instance, it's great to see members of the community out here, members of particularly the different faith leaders coming out to sort of obviously both condemn the attack, but also to bring that sense of compassion to the community. And it feels like, London is just a place that just carries on, and people just get on with it, and their lives. People still obviously going into work and things like that, but also people coming out to lay flowers, people talking to strangers in the street. So it's sort of ironic in some ways, an attack like this, which is intended to bring division and to sort of dislocate that sense of unity there is within the society and within this community, actually does exactly the opposite. People come out in force and helping one another out and really showing that sense of solidarity and compassion to one another. Yeah.
Okay, Sam, stay there with me. I'm with Sam Haig, who is a local vicar for the local Church of England Church, Emmanuel Holloway. If you've got any questions for Sam or any comments, please do them, put them into the comment box below. We are live on the BBC News Facebook page and the BBC London News Facebook page. Let me just have a quick look down at my phone, because we've got a couple of comments that have come in. Paul, Sam says, scary times that we live in. Imogen, disgusted. And then we've also got Jessica, who says prayers to all victims.
Yeah. I think we as a church community are just really echoing those same sentiments. Really, just wanting to be alongside the community at this time, to express our condolences to the families that have been affected, to express our sort of empathy and support and solidarity with the Muslim community, particularly as well at this time, to really make a conscious effort to just stress our compassion and solidarity to them at this time. Indeed, scary times, and people understandably fearful, and in the light of recent terror attacks as well, fearful for particularly the safety of the Muslim community. And I think as a community around here, around Finsbury Park, around the North London community, wanting to just do anything that we can to counteract that. I know from my perspective it comes from my faith in Jesus, to be compassionate and to be loving to those of any background and any religion. Yeah.
Okay, really grateful for your time. Thank you so much. That was Sam Haig from the local Church of England Church, Emmanuel Holloway. As I said, we're here at Finsbury Park on the BBC News Facebook page and BBC London News Facebook page, and also on BBC Radio London's Facebook page. You can just put a comment into the comment box below. You can ask a question. Hopefully you'll be able to just make out the police cordon just behind me there, right beside the very well-known Arsenal shop, beside Finsbury Park tube station and interchange here. And just after that bus goes by, you'll be able to see the police cordon, all of the media. Just behind there, we've got the police van, and then we have the Muslim Welfare House, which you might be able to make out. Just down on the right-hand side, you'll see one of the London Underground signs, and that's where this van pulled in front of pedestrians in the early hours of this morning. Now, we do have one more guest who's going to join me over here now. Anthony, I believe you are a resident and you live, is it just over my shoulder there?
That's a block of flats I live in, yeah.
Can you just talk me through, first of all, what happened this morning in terms of, when did you wake up, when did you hear about it?
Well, I actually was walking past the mosque 10 minutes before the actual event last night, coming back from my church where I go to in central London. The roads were quite pretty clear by then. There wasn't much traffic on the road. I actually went home into my block of flats there over to your shoulder and actually just went onto my bed where there was something I heard from the window. To be honest with you, I wasn't really concerned because in our small community there's always something going on, but nothing really on that major scale. But it's only when I woke up this morning that I heard on the news that there had been actually a terrorist attack. But actually, it's probably what I heard last night.
And how did that make you feel then, once you heard that it was a terrorist incident?
I was kind of numb and shocked to think that in our small community in Finsbury Park, where there's quite a diverse of ethnic minorities, and we all seem to get on well. I mean, I lived in this area for 6 years, and there's never really been any incident of that magnitude for people to be concerned or worried or scared. It's a close-knitted community, and now our community is outraged, completely full of anger, and rightly so. They're upset about what's happening on their doorstep.
We've got a comment just come in on the BBC Facebook page saying from Linda, she says, this is horrible. And you are a local resident here. There is certainly community cohesion here. Do you feel scared at all? Has it changed anything that you will do?
It's really put me on the back foot a little bit, because if it can happen in a local area, where we understand that these things happen, but I would have never imagined in an area of Finsbury Park where it's a mostly populated Muslim area, and we all get on, as I said, a refugee, that we all get on as a community. And I don't get the feeling that it's happened on poor innocent people that were praying in their mosque. They were praying, just coming out from prayer. I just can't get my head around that. I just can't get my head around that. Someone would deliberately drive a van and attack innocent people who were praying.
Anthony, thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you for speaking to us this afternoon. That was Anthony, a local resident who just lives in these flats just behind me here. We're here live on the BBC News Facebook page, which is live. You can place some comments and questions just underneath if you would like to do so, and you can probably make out the police cordon just behind me here. Just joining me now is Chris Phillips. And Chris, you are the former head of National Counter-Terrorism Security Office. You're also, I think it's fair to say, a counter-security expert.
Yeah, I've been working in this field for a long time. Actually, I've been expecting these kind of things to happen for many years now, and it's been quite a surprise how well the police have done over the years to stop them from happening. But, of course, whenever they happen, it's a disaster for everyone involved.
Well, it does seem to be absolutely relentless at the moment. Can you first of all just give me your reaction to the incident that took place overnight in the early hours of this morning here?
Well, it's clearly a copycat. It's a copycat of other offences that have taken place. You could almost imagine them saying that it's a revenge. I don't know whether that's been announced as such. But I think we have to understand that terrorism comes in many forms, and this is just a sign of the times. What I can say, though, actually, is that this is actually exactly what ISIS want. This is exactly what Daesh want. They want us as communities to fall apart, fight each other, and then they get an advantage by that. They manage to change governments or whatever they want to do. And the important thing is that we go against that, and we actually use this as a realisation that actually we're all in this together.
And Chris, so soon after the horrific attack at London Bridge and at Borough Market as well, how can people feel safe in London, continue to go about their daily business? Because I think for a lot of people, they have it in the back of their minds that something like this could happen near where they live.
Yeah, I think we've got to put some perspective on this, and I'm not trying to play this down at all. People have lost their lives in these terrorist attacks, but actually, when terrorist attacks happen, there's almost always going to be loss of life. But the loss of life that we've had in the attacks have been very low. I mean, look at the attack in Manchester, where 22 people were killed by one person. The attacks in London haven't been as bad as that. Now, I'm not trying to downplay this. But we've got to be realistic. People do die in our city every day. We do have car accidents every day, and we have got to get on as business as usual, or else these people win. We've got to really stand and say, look, business as usual. We carry on doing exactly what we would have done if this hadn't have happened, and get on with it, and get the communities together.
Chris, stay with me there, because we have some comments and questions coming in on the BBC News Facebook page. For you, I'm with Chris Phillips, who is the former head of National Counter-Terrorism Security Office. He's a counter-terrorism expert. Mary says, so sad. Elisan, I am very sad. Vanessa, another sad day for Great Britain. And this really is another sad day for Great Britain, isn't it?
It is, and whichever way you want to play it, this is not good. And it makes us look as though our society is breaking up. I've seen lots of tweets and things over today about, is society breaking down in the UK? It's not. And these things, to some extent, are fed a little bit by the media frenzy. If you look over there, there's hundreds of cameras from across the world, and it creates an impression that probably isn't there. Okay, things aren't perfect, but they're better in the UK than they are in most parts of the world, I would suggest.
And just a final thought then, Chris, just for the people living in London or even elsewhere in the country, watching this, seeing the news, what would your kind of advice to them be in order to go about their daily business?
Well, they will have all heard the be alert, be aware, report their suspicions of things, and that's a key. This person, I guarantee now, there will be people out there. I mean, almost certainly he's worked on his own to actually do this offence, but other people will have known that he was going to do it. Those people are just as liable as he is, because they should have contacted the police, they should have let us know, and if they had done, we may have been able to stop this. The police may have been able to stop this.
OK, Chris, really good to speak to you. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. That was Chris Phillips, who is former head of the National Counter-Terrorism Security Office and also a counter-terrorism expert. Forgive me, I'm just looking down at my phone because I want to read out some of the questions and comments that are coming in on this BBC News Facebook Live. We've got Vanessa saying, another terrible day for Great Britain. Mary, so sad. Ehsan, I am very sad. And just to show you behind me, this is the police cordon, which has been in place here all morning, really. And right behind the police cordon, you can probably make out the underground station, and that is where the Muslim Welfare House is. That is where this man drove his van into a group of pedestrians. One man has died, 8 people are in hospital, and it is what the Prime Minister Theresa May has described as a national terrorist incident. We're coming to the end of our BBC Facebook Live, but please do keep bringing in your comments and questions, because we do want to read them a little bit later, so please do keep them coming in. Just to let you know, you can of course keep up to date with the very, very latest developments on our website, bbc.co.uk/news, rolling on our BBC News channel. We've got it being co-presented from just behind me here. BBC London TV News will be broadcasting here on BBC One at 1:30 and at 6:30 and 10:30 this evening. And you can listen on radio, BBC Radio London 94.9 FM. But from me, Barry Caffrey, for now, here at Finsbury Park, have a good afternoon.